So I'm about to take you step by step using my time-tested best practices for Adobe After Effects. Now, before we begin, I just want to share with you I'm a shortcut guy. Shortcuts will help you every step of the way. Now, since I'm all into shortcuts, I just want to share with you anytime that I'm on a Macintosh, anytime I hit the Command key, that's the same as the Control key on Windows. And when I say the Option key, that's the same as the Alt key on Windows. So I don't want to have to keep repeating two things at the same time. So Option is Alt, and Command is Control on Windows. So let's get started. Let's understand, first of all, my objective. I've been teaching Adobe software since 1987. My objective is to get you to think the way the software thinks. And if you understand how the software thinks, because it's simply a language, you'll be able to be a better user, to better understanding of the software. So let's get started here. So here I've opened up Adobe After Effects, and I'm going to share with you how to basically do After Effects for iPhone. Okay. Now, After Effects basically is motion graphics, moving timelines, similar to Premiere or Final Cut. But what After Effects does is create compositions. You could have many compositions inside of After Effects. You can have a composition inside of a composition. The composition is basically your stage, and that's where the animation happens. So we made ourselves a new file, and I saved the file. So I went to File, New, Project. Now you can only have one project open at a time inside of After Effects, but you could have many compositions. So the shortcut for composition is Command N, and that's basically going to bring up our composition menu. Now I'm going to type in the name of my composition, which is basically how to use After Effects or video editing on smartphones for shorts. Now, if in fact this is going to be a layout for smartphones, smartphones have a width and a height of 1080 by 1920. And if it's going to be a short, it should be less than 60 seconds. Now, depending on the type of video you're going to do, maybe your video is 15 seconds or 20 seconds. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But right now, I'm going to go to default. Now, this is simply for playback. If you want to change that to full, fine. But this is just for playback. That's not how it's going to render out. But basically, if you have a slower computer, you might want to change your resolution to half or a third. I'm going to leave mine at full because I have a very fast computer. Background color, we're going to leave black. That's fine for now, and we're going to hit OK. So what that did is create a composition over here to the left in my bin. The bin is basically going to contain graphics, images, videos, and of course you can put things into different folders. Okay, now let's understand again how After Effects thinks. So the first thing we're going to do is anything about a file is under the File menu. Based on these choices, we want to import a file, which happens to be Command-I and Windows that'd be Control-I. Now, obviously, if you want to bring multiple files, then it's Command-Option-I. Let's not talk about this right now. So I'm going to go grab a file and import it into my bin. So I basically imported a video from my desktop for Adobe Illustrator tutorial. So very simple to do. I can either select that, drag it to the timeline, or I can Command / which is the question mark key, Control /. That's going to put it on the timeline. Now, before we go any further, I want to share with you, I want to go up to File, After Effects rather, Preferences, and go to General Preferences. There's one change that you should make by default. By default, Create Layers and Composition Start Time is turned on. I want to check that off. Because if I want to put something at 7 seconds, I don't want to go back to the beginning. So by default, this is on. I want you to turn it off and hit OK. So what I mean by that, if I scrub this to say 5 seconds, and I was to hit Command / key, it's going to put it at 5 seconds. I just want you to have a good understanding of this. Now, again, this image was captured at a certain width and height. So again, Command / puts it on the stage. Now, I want to hit S for scale. S for scale brings up the scale properties. Not Command S, not Control S, simply the letter S. I'll go through more information in just a second. So I'm going to scale this up to it fills the entire screen. Now, if I hit Command - again, Control - Windows, I can see more of the screen. So I'm going to basically fill this so the entire screen gets filled with that elong video. Okay, so this is basically how you can set up and resize a short to meet your composition size. Now if I hit Command K again, Command K I can go and change. Command K changes existing compositions. Command K. So this is set up at 1080 by 1920, but whether or not your footage was set up that way is totally up to you. Now again, I'm going to change this to full, so this way it renders out properly. So here's how it works in a nutshell. I'm all about fast production techniques. So again, I'm going to take this one piece of footage and Command / and put it on my timeline. Again, I'm going to go to the scale tool and scale this up so it fits, because this was shot proportionally, so it should fit right there. And if I Command - it will zoom out. So you'll see that that was basically set up for the format of the dimensions, which is 1080 by 1920. Now, here's a great production technique. So let's say you spend time getting this and putting text and all that, which I'm going to cover in just a second. But if you want your next video to have the same set of properties, so let's say as an example, I'm just going to shorten this timeline to here. Okay, now pay close attention. This is really cool stuff. My playback head is here. If I want to go to the out point, it's simply O for out. If I want to go back to the in point, it's I for in. So O for out, and what I can do is I can duplicate this video. Now, my purpose is not to duplicate the video, but I want to basically swap the properties of the new video coming in. So here's what I can do. I select the new duplicated video, and I hit the left bracket key. The left bracket key is next to the OP key. OP, left bracket, right bracket. Again, not Command, simply the left bracket key. What that's going to do is that's going to move the in point to the out point of the video. Pretty cool. Now, pay close attention. I'm going to select this second video, go to a new video, say this video here, and I want to swap it. Now again, we just learned that we hit Command / to put it onto the stage. That's not what I want to do. I want to swap it. So I add the Option or the Alt key. So Command Option / will replace that with my new video and keep its scaling properties. Now, it also kept its length. So for whatever reason, if you want to change the length of the new video, then simply increase the size of the length here, etc., etc. Now, let's talk about that for a second. Let's say that I wanted to arbitrarily increase the length of something. So I can go to I for in. Now keep in mind, in order to affect, you need to select. This is the layer that I'm selected on. I for in. Now what I want to do is I'm going to play this video. If you want to learn how to create shapes like this, simply that I want to start the video in point right here. Okay, I want the video to start here, but at this point. So what I can do is Option left bracket. Option left bracket is going to trim. See what happened here? It trimmed the video to that point. Now I can go back to the in point of the video. So I can select here, go to the out point of this video, select this bottom video, and then hit the left bracket. Okay, now let's review that. Notice I hit the left bracket, not Option left bracket. If I hit Option or Alt left bracket, it would have extended the length of the video. That's not what I want to do. I want to basically, I'm going to undo this, Command Z. I want this to, I want that trimmed area, this point forward, to start at the end point. So again, how do I do that? I go to the out point of this video. I then select the video at the bottom and I hit the left bracket. Now we're going to do exercises that covers a lot of this, but that's the basic technique of how this is done. So again, I for O, O for out. In, out will change the in point and the out point of that selected layer. Now, here's another production technique. Let's say that I want to basically constrain this to 15 seconds. Now, even though my composition was set up for 1 minute or 60 seconds, how can I accomplish this? This is what makes After Effects so amazing. So I can basically go home on my keypad, and I want to move the playback head to exactly 15 seconds. So here's the shortcut. Option-Shift-J. Option-Shift-J. Windows would be Control-Alt-J. So it would be Alt-Shift-J. Option-Shift-J for jump. So what I can do is I could jump to 15 seconds. Now, if I just type in 15, that's going to go to 15 frames. That's not what I want to do. I want to go to 15 seconds. So that's 15 period. 15 period will go exactly to 15 seconds. Let's review that again. So Option-Shift-J will move my playback head to exactly 15 period seconds. Now, that's different from what I'm about to share with you. So let's move this back here. Let's say I want to go ahead 15 seconds, not just go to the 15-second timeline. I want to go ahead 15 seconds. So I can do the same thing. Option-Shift-J and do plus 15. How cool is that? I can go ahead 15 seconds. Okay, so let's get back to trimming this at 15 seconds. So I hit the O, and now I can hit the N key. Letter N for end, E-N-D, N, as in Nancy, as in nobody. So now I hit N, and it basically changes the playback area to this. But if I want to render it out at this 15 seconds, I need to hold down the Control key, both Mac or Windows, and actually my mistake on that. Control key inside, not the video inside this bar here. Control key and trim comp to work area. So therefore, when I render this out, it will render out exactly 15 seconds. Okay, let's do this again. Okay, so if I have a information here and I want to extend this back, so I can hit Command K, and let's go back to a 1 minute timeline. And I can tell it's 1 minute because if I scroll down, you can see it keeps going out here. So again, I'm going to hit home. I'm now going to go to 15 seconds. Again, Option-Shift-J, 15 point, and hit return. Okay, I'm doing a left bracket to decrease the size of my timeline. So if you want to trim this at that point or any point, so let's say that I did a video that came out to this size. Let's say that this video ended right there. So again, what I could do is hit N for end, hold down the Control key, and trim comp to work area. Always make a change, save a change. We'll talk about rendering it out in just a second. So that's a really cool technique. Now, of course, I can go to the File menu and I can revert to the last time I saved it. Now I'm going to do that. Okay, so again, if you want to manage your video, the playback head is here. Now, let's understand how we can work with type. Type is really cool. The shortcut for type is Command T, not letter T, Command T, Control T. And I'm going to click right here. And I'm going to say the word hello. And hit the return key. I'm sorry. Don't not hit the return key, hit the enter key, the E-N-T-E-R key. So I'm going to now take this, hit the V key for my move tool, and I'm going to move this into place. Let me just zoom into this for a second. So I'm going to move this into place. Now, you're white on white, so I'm going to double click over here and I'm just going to change the color to a color that I can see. Now, what did that do? That put the text inside my timeline. Now, let's say, and this is a very common thing to be able to do, let's say that I want to say, hello, welcome. I want to do a series of different words and I want to animate them. Here's how I can make this work. Pay close attention. This is a great production technique. My playback head is in the beginning of my video. I'm now going to hit Command key, arrow key to the right, Command key or Control key, right arrow. Notice the timeline down here on the left hand is set to 0, 0, 0. I want to go out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames. And I'm going to basically animate the text. At 5 frames, I'm going to hit Option P for position. Option P for position. Okay? Very important step. I move my playback head at Option P. That's at a keyframe. Now I want to go back home and I'm going to move the text off the screen. So now it's going to animate in at 5 frames. Now the other thing I can do is I want to create what's called a motion blur. So if I click down here, this is going to create a motion blur for that text. So if I hit home and hit the space bar, so the objective here, hello. How cool is that? Now, pay close attention. I want to basically not reinvent the wheel. I want to have different pieces of text that appear on my video. I can sync it or line it up with my video voice. But in this particular case, I want this to happen let's keep it simple, every 3 seconds. So how would I do this? Well, I can move my playback head exactly 3 seconds. So again, Option Shift J, 3 point would go to 3 seconds. Now I'm going to trim the text to that playback head. Again, Option right bracket. So make sure it's selected. In order to affect it, it has to be selected. Option right bracket. And there is my 3-second text. Now, how do I move forward from here? Well, I could simply duplicate this, Command D. My playback head's already right here. Then, the text below, I want to move out to that point, so that's the left bracket. So now all I have to do is double click and change the word. Again, if you hit the Enter key or Command Return. Command Return also, if you don't have an extended keyboard, you can either do Command or Control Return. Don't hit the Return key, that's going to do a new line. So understand what we did here, and this could be basically repeated, and this is a great production technique. Okay, so again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to the out point of this text, I'm going to duplicate it, I'm going to select the text, and hit the left bracket. And I'm going to type in the word welcome, and again, Command Return. See how that works? Everything's going to be 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds with the same motion blur. Everything's the same because I duplicated it. This is working smart. So again, I'm going to do this one more time. Duplicate, go to the out point, select the text below, hit the left bracket, move in just a little bit, and type in new words and Command Return. So let's play this back. So the objective here, I'm in Command Y. Goodbye. I just want to share with you how you can start visualizing shapes, and you'll get good at this as the time goes by. Cool. So as an example, if I was to create a simple... Now, if I want to repeat, once I close this document, open it back up at another day, you can always go to the inner out point of any selected layer. Let me repeat that. In fact, over here, you'll see what's inside of those layers. So if I want to go to the out point of this layer, I select the layer and hit O for out. Okay? Maybe I want to extend how long this stays on the line. Okay, so let's understand how we can do this. In fact, let's say I want to extend it to the out point of this video. How would I do that? Well, I go to the out point of this video. This text. I select this and I hit Option right bracket because I want to extend it. Option right bracket. Now, of course, this text is on top of that text. I don't want that to happen. So what do? I select the text file here and hit the left bracket, right bracket. And now I extended this, so if I save the changes, Command S, hit home. So the objective here, I'm in Command Y. I just want to share with you how you can start visualizing shapes, and you'll get good at this as the time goes by. So as an example, if I was, again, let's say that I want to basically have this text end at 15 seconds because I want my video to end at 15 seconds. So again, how do I do this? Well, I simply go to the out point. My mistake. I go to 15 seconds. So I hit Option Shift J, 15 point. Then I make sure if I'm not sure this is exactly 15 seconds, I hit Option, right bracket. So basically it stops right there. Then with my playback head here, I'm going to hit the End key, again like we did before, Control key, and trim to work area. Okay, now when all that is done, very simply, I need to go to Composition and Add to Media Queue. Now this should automatically take the settings that you have. Now what it's going to do, it's going to save the file in the same folder that you created your project in. It takes a second to come up. So when you go to Composition, Media Queue, it will basically take the exact settings, and again, it's going to render it out, and it's going to put it inside the same folder. Now, let's look at some other things we can do to our text. Now, pay close attention. You need to understand where your keyframes are, because if you arbitrarily start moving a different keyframe, it's not going to work. So right now, if my playback head is right here on goodbye, and let's say that I wanted to move it down a little bit. Well, watch what happened. You might have thought that you want to move it down a little bit, but what you actually did is create a new keyframe. And that's what I want to share with you, okay? So what you need to pay attention to is hit the letter U to uncover your keyframes. Make sure you're in a keyframe that you're selecting in order to move it. So if I did want to move my text down to here from its original point, I would hit J to jump back. J jumps back. K goes forward to a keyframe that it can see, It's going to skip over this because it can't see this because this is not uncovered. If I wanted to select all and hit U, it would uncover all my keyframes. So as an example, if I'm home, I can hit K to my next keyframe, 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 and J to jump back, J to jump back, J to jump back. So what I'm trying to share with you is don't just arbitrarily change things if you're not on the keyframe, because it's going to create more keyframes. Now, let's say as an example, after about maybe 1 second, I want this to rotate. How can I do this? Well, here's my playback head. Option Shift J and plus 1 point. It's going to move the playback head plus 1 second. There's 1 second later. At 1 second, I want to rotate this. So that's the letter R, or I can hit Option R to set a keyframe. Make sure you just select it on that particular layer. Option R is going to create a rotation keyframe. Now I'm going to do something I did before. I'm going to go ahead, holding down the Command and Shift, arrow key to the right. Look at my timeline over here on the left. I'm going to go ahead, 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry, my mistake on that. Command, arrow key to the right. I'm going to go ahead, 1, 2, 3. So I went ahead 4 seconds. Now I'm going to rotate this. Let's just do the rotate this 5 times. Now it's going to spin very, very quickly. And I still want to do a motion blur. The motion blur is still set up on this. So let's see how that would work. Let's go to the I, the end point of this, and hit the space bar. I just want to share with you how you can start. Now, if that's spinning way too quickly for you, how can we change that? I can hit J to go back to the previous keyframe and expand it, so basically it takes a little bit longer to spin out. Maybe you want to spin it out an entire second. Again, make sure, warning, make sure that you're on the correct keyframe. And if there's not a keyframe there, if you're creating another keyframe, that's a different story. But if you wanted to move something, like I said before, if I decided I wanted to move this down a little bit, well, what did it do? It just created a new keyframe. That's going to create a disruption in my presentation. I don't want it to do that. I just want to share with you, if your objective was to move it down, then go to that keyframe J and then move it down. See, it will simply edit the keyframe rather than make a new keyframe. So if I go to the end point of this, I could simply play it from that point forward. I just want to share with you how you can start. You want to play visually just this section. This is something called IBON, I-B-O-N, just how it sounds. I select the layer that I want to feature, I for end point, B change to the beginning, O goes to the out point, and N changes the work area, IBON, IBON. So watch what happens now. It's simply going to play.
I just want to share with you how you can start visual.
It's going to play.
I just want to share with you how you can start visual.
Play.
I just want to share with you how you can start.
Now, if I wanted to play this section, I can select this. I want to play these two sections. So I can go to over, out, and hit the N key. Again, I for in, B for beginning, over, out, N for end. So now when I hit the space bar, it's going to play.
I just want to share with you how you can start visualizing shapes, and you'll get good at this as the time goes by.
Now, how do I get back to where I started? Simple, simple, simple. Home, I, B, I'm sorry, my mistake. Home, B, end, N. So B is for beginning, N's for end. I goes to the beginning. So in this particular case, it's simply home, B, end, N. Hopefully that's not confusing. So again, make a change, save a change, but this should be enough to get you up and running. And just make sure you pay attention to your keyframes. Now, one other thing. Let's say you want something to fade in and fade out. That's transparency. Transparency is the letter T. So here's how I can do this. I'm going to move my playback head, Shift arrow key to the right. Command arrow key to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm going to hit Option T for setting a transparency. It's not opacity, it's transparency. Command T, keyframe. Okay, then I go back to the beginning, and then I set my transparency to 0%. So therefore, it will basically come in.
So the objective here, I'm in command
to go out, then I can basically take and select my keyframe here. So right here, I'm inside of here, I can select a keyframe. So go to the opacity, select a keyframe, go Command key, arrow key 1, 2, 3, 4, and then set that to 0, so exact opposite. So if you wanted to see this area, I can hit the N key because I'm already at the beginning. So therefore I can just play.
So the objective here, I'm in Command Y. So the objective here, I'm in Command
Y. If you
Y.
want to apply the same settings to your text, I can copy the keyframes. I can select the text and paste. So the text will do the same thing. Watch.
So the objective here, I'm in Command Y. So the objective here, I'm in Command
Actually, this
Y.
goes past that area, so it's probably not going to work as effectively. Okay, it actually went past the area that I can see it. You get the idea. So anyway, have fun with this. I'm here to help you every step of the way. Get to know these shortcuts. It's going to make your whole life much easier. And if you want to, you can duplicate Command D, Control D, duplicate that composition, and have a whole new set of videos to go by. But that's what makes After Effects a great tool for the internet, because you can get very precise. Yeah, you can kind of do that with some tweaking in Premiere and Final Cut, but this is basically a beginning and end to a composition, and you could add other things to it. So enjoy the day. Talk to you soon.